Hello friends, myself Professor Shantaya Gurmat, Department of Botany, MGVC Arts, Commerce and Science College, Mudde Bihar, Karnataka State. Friends, today's class we discuss about part 2, fertilizers. Farmers turn to fertilizers because these substances contain plant nutrients such as nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. Fertilizers are simply plant nutrients applied to agricultural feeds to supplement required elements found naturally in the soil. Fertilizers have been since the start of agriculture. Plants need to fertilized because most soil does not provide the essential nutrients required for optimum growth. It took nutrients from the soil to build those plant tissues. By fertilizing your garden, you refresh lost nutrients and ensure that this year's plants have been food they need to flourish. They need to flourish. These three numbers from what is called the fertilizers NPK ratio. The proportion of three plant nutrients in order: nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. The product's NPK numbers affect each nutrient's percentage by weight. All fertilizers labels have three bold numbers. The first number is the amount of nitrogen. The second number is the primary nutrient, that is nitrogen, and the second number is the phosphate, and the third number is the amount of potash. These three numbers represent the primary nutrients: nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. This label, known as the fertilizer grade, is a national standard. A bag of 10-10-10 fertilizers contains 10% nitrogen, 10% phosphate and 10% potash. Organic fertilizers that are high nitrogen include urea, which is derived from urine, feathers, dried blood and blood meal. Feathers contain 50% nitrogen, dried blood contain 12%, nitrogen and blood meal contain 12.5% nitrogen. Choose a fertilizer that has a balanced ratio of the three major elements such as 10-10-10 or where the middle number phosphorus is larger than the first number, means nitrogen and nitrogen, such as 2:3:1, 2:3:1, like that. Tomatoes are heavy feeders and usually do need fertilizer unless your soil is very rich. If you wish to add potassium to your soil at home, you can do so in several ways without having to use potash or other commercial potassium fertilizers. Compost made primarily from food byproducts is an excellent source of potassium. In particular, banana peels are very high in potassium. Carrots should be fertilized when the tops have reached 3 inches tall. A granular type of fertilizer will work well if used in moderation. Choose fertilizers that has a little nitrogen and more potassium and phosphate, that is 0-10-10 or 5-15-15 will work well. Add good ash to your compost heap to increase the potassium content. You can also use manure, which has a small percentage of potassium and is relatively easy on plant roots. Keep and green sand are also good source for potash. Kelp and green sand are very useful to potash. As the world population continues to grow, so too does the demand of agricultural crops. Farmers use various fertilizers to grow crops, but the two most common are sulfate potash, means SOP, and muriate of potash, that is MOP. Modern chemical fertilizers include one or more of the three elements that are most important in plant nutrition: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Of secondary importance are the elements sulfur, magnesium, and calcium. Farmers turn to fertilize because these substances contains plant nutrients such as nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Fertilizers are simply plant nutrients applied to agricultural feeds to supplement required elements found naturally in the soil. Types of fertilizers: nitrogen fertilizers, nitrate based fertilizers are the most commonly used straight fertilizers in Europe. Nitrogen fertilizers with inhibitors, phosphorus fertilizers, potassium fertilizers, calcium, magnesium, and sulfur fertilizers, and micronutrient fertilizers, lastly, inhibitors. This is about some graphical representation of fertilizers. Okay, thank you, friends. We meet in the next video.